The night of October 23rd in Wilmington, Delaware, started like any other. A quiet suburban evening, families winding down, the gentle hum of electricity a constant, comforting presence. No one could have predicted that in a matter of minutes, their entire reality would be plunged into darkness and an unsettling silence, pierced only by a sound no one could identify. It began subtly, a flicker of the lights, a momentary glitch on the TV screen. Most people brushed it off, just a minor power surge, right? But then, the streetlights outside started to strobe in a bizarre, unsynchronized rhythm before extinguishing one by one, leaving the neighborhood in an inky blackness. This wasn't just a power outage. Something was different. Something was deeply wrong. People started to step out of their homes, their faces lit by the screens of their phones, which were now useless. No signal, no Wi-Fi, no way to call for help or even check the news. The air itself felt strange, heavy, and charged, like the moments before a massive lightning strike. A low, persistent humming sound seemed to vibrate through the ground, a deep, resonant buzz that you could feel in your teeth. Distant, heatless lightning flashed across the horizon, but there was no thunder to follow, only that unnerving hum. Whispers turned to anxious chatter as neighbors gathered in the street. Some reported their cars wouldn't start. Others said their battery-powered radios were just emitting static. It was a complete technological blackout. Panic began to set in. What was causing this? An EMP? A solar flare? The theories flew back and forth, each more frightening than the last. But as they looked up at the starless, cloudy sky, they noticed something else. A faint, pulsating glow, a ripple of soft, ethereal light moving slowly across the clouds, directly overhead. This wasn't a natural phenomenon. The light was organized, almost deliberate in its movement. It wasn't a plane or a helicopter. The strange, low hum seemed to be emanating from it. As the light grew brighter, the static in the air intensified, making hair stand on end. The crowd fell silent, a collective gasp rippling through the group of onlookers. They were witnessing something that defied explanation, something that had turned their ordinary suburban street into the setting of a science fiction nightmare. What happened that night in Delaware has never been officially explained. The power returned just as mysteriously as it had vanished a few hours later. Phones reconnected and the world went back to normal, but for the residents of that small neighborhood, the memory of the humming darkness and the silent pulsing light in the sky remains. They were left with a chilling question: what was watching them from the sky that night? Was it a secret military test or a brush with something not of this world? This event remains one of the most compelling and least known mass UFO sightings in recent history. What do you think happened? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this dive into the unknown, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more stories that challenge our reality. Thanks for watching. This is an emergency broadcast. We are coming to you live from downtown, where an unprecedented weather event is unfolding. Conditions are deteriorating rapidly. The wind is unlike anything I've ever experienced. Look behind me. Trees are bending, some are snapping like twigs. The sky has turned an eerie, unnatural shade of blue and green. This is not a normal storm. I repeat, this is not a normal storm. We are hearing police sirens across the city. Emergency services are overwhelmed. People are scrambling, running for cover, trying to find any safe haven they can. The panic is palpable. You can feel it in the air. The authorities are urging everyone to seek immediate shelter. Get indoors. Get to the lowest level of your building. Stay away from windows. The force of this wind is shattering glass. Debris is flying everywhere. It's incredibly dangerous out here. We're getting reports of power outages spreading across multiple neighborhoods. The electrical grid is failing under the strain. If you are watching this, you need to prepare for a prolonged outage. Charge your devices now if you still have power. Gather flashlights, batteries, and any non-perishable food you have. This could last for a while. The atmospheric pressure is dropping at an alarming rate, something our meteorologists have said is a sign of an extremely violent system. The roaring sound is deafening. It's not just wind. It's a physical force that you can feel in your chest. We're trying to get more information from the National Weather Service, but communication lines are becoming unstable. What we do know is this system formed with incredible speed, catching everyone by surprise. Its rotation is visible even from the ground. The sheer scale is breathtaking and absolutely terrifying. To everyone at home, please, do not underestimate this. Do not go outside. Do not try to drive. Roads are becoming impassable with fallen trees and power lines. We're seeing vehicles overturned by the sheer force of the gust. Stay tuned to this channel. We will stay on the air as long as we possibly can to bring you the latest information. Our primary concern is your safety. Please look after your neighbors, check on the elderly or anyone who might need assistance, but do it safely without putting yourself at risk. Find your safe space now and stay there. We will get through this together, but you must take immediate precautions. We will continue to broadcast as long as we are able. Please stay safe. The wind howls, a relentless scream against the shattered landscape. Wreckage litters the highway, cars overturn like children's toys. Through the swirling dust and debris, a figure emerges, a silhouette against the bruised sky. He moves with a purpose that defies the chaos, his torn lab coat flapping like a wounded bird's wing. One hand is wrapped in a makeshift bandage, stained dark. He reaches another survivor, a young woman cowering behind a concrete barrier, and helps her to her feet. His voice is calm, a steady anchor in the storm. "Are you all right? Can you walk?" He guides her towards a small group, huddled by the shell of a bus. Each person he's gathered bears the same look of dazed disbelief. A man with a gash on his forehead squints at the newcomer, his eyes widening in recognition. "Wait a second. I know you. You're that scientist, right? Dr. Urs Thorn? I saw you on the news." The name hangs in the air, heavier than the oppressive atmosphere. All eyes turn to the man in the tattered coat. He doesn't deny it. Instead, he scans the horizon, a grim line tightening his mouth. "What is this thing?" a woman asks, her voice trembling as she clutches a child to her chest. "This storm, it came out of nowhere. It's tearing everything apart." Dr. Thorne finally looks at them, his gaze intense, filled with a terrible knowledge. The wind seems to die down for a moment, replaced by a low, vibrating hum that you can feel in your bones. "This isn't just a storm," he says, his voice low and urgent, each word sharpened with dread. The sound seems to echo, as if the world itself is holding its breath. He points a trembling, bandaged finger toward the horizon, where the clouds are churning in an unnatural, mesmerizing spiral. The sky is a sickly shade of green and purple. Look closely, the debris isn't just being blown around. It's being pulled. It's a magnetic vortex. A collective gasp ripples through the small group. The man who recognized him shakes his head. A magnetic ... what? What does that even mean? Thorne's eyes are locked on the swirling chaos in the distance. It means the laws of physics are breaking down around us. The planet's magnetic field is collapsing in on this point. This isn't a weather event. It's an extinction-level anomaly. The implications of his words begin to sink in, a cold dread far worse than the wind's chill. "My research." "I warned them," Thorne continues, his voice cracking with a mixture of frustration and despair. "I tried to tell the authorities that the core resonance experiments were too risky. They wouldn't listen. They called me a fearmonger." He clenches his uninjured fist. "This vortex isn't natural. We created it, and it's growing. It's feeding on metal, on energy, on the very planet itself. He turned back to the group, his expression one of grim determination. The storm was just the beginning. The real danger is the pole. Soon, nothing will be able to escape it. We have to get as far away as we can on foot and stay away from anything metal. It's our only chance. As he speaks, a distant skyscraper groans, its steel frame beginning to bend inward, pulled by an unseen, unstoppable force. The real nightmare has just begun. Thank you for watching. If you were captivated by this story, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss what happens next. We're just getting started. The world just broke. 1 minute, Sarah was arguing with me about the last slice of pizza. The next, the fork in her hand started to vibrate. Then it just floated right out of her fingers, hanging in the air like a weird silver hummingbird. We all just stared, mouths open. Then my keys jingled on the counter and lifted up, joining the fork. Outside, a symphony of chaos began. A cacophony of scraping metal, the tortured groan of steel. We rushed to the window, and what we saw, it's burned into my mind forever. Lampposts were bending, twisting like licorice sticks, their tops straining toward the bruised, swirling sky. Cars were bobbing on the asphalt like metal buoys in a stormy sea, their tires just barely kissing the ground. A bicycle chained to a rack was stretched taut, the chain groaning, the metal frame elongating, trying to rip itself free and answer the call. And in the sky, it wasn't a storm, not like any I'd ever seen. It was a vortex of sickly green and purple energy pulsing, and with every pulse, the pull got stronger. That's when Professor Aris, his face pale and his eyes wide with a terror that went beyond just fear, it was the terror of understanding, grabbed my arm. His voice, usually so calm and measured, was a raw shout over the rising din. It's the resonance cascade. It's pulling us. The ferrous material, it's all being drawn to the focal point. Get to the church, now. Church? I looked at him like he was crazy. The old stone church on the hill. What good would that do? But there was no time to argue. A manhole cover ripped out of the street and cartwheeled past my head, missing me by inches. Sparks showered down from power lines as they tore away from their poles, whipping through the air like incandescent snakes. The very air tasted like ozone and panic. Go! Aris screamed, already running. We followed, a terrified little group dashing through a world gone mad. It was like running through a blender. Debris flew everywhere. A mailbox shot past us, then a stop sign, then the entire metal frame of a bus stop shelter. We had to duck and weave, our bodies screaming with adrenaline. The pull wasn't just on the metal anymore. I could feel it in my bones, a strange, sickening vibration, a hum that seemed to be trying to shake me apart from the inside out. It was a physical force, tugging at the fillings in my teeth, at the zipper on my jacket. We scrambled up the hill toward St. Jude's, the old stone bastion. Aris was right. The stones weren't moving. The wooden doors, the slate roof, they were untouched by this metallic apocalypse. It was an island of calm in an ocean of chaos. Behind us, our city was being unmade, piece by shimmering piece, all of it spiraling upward into that hungry, swirling maw in the sky. We threw ourselves against the heavy oak doors, the sounds of twisting metal and electrical discharge right at our heels. The doors creaked open and we tumbled inside, piling into the sudden, shocking silence of the sanctuary. We slammed the doors shut, leaning against them, chests heaving, hearts hammering against our ribs. The only light came from the stained glass windows, casting colored patterns on the dusty floor. For a moment, there was only the sound of our own ragged breathing. We were safe. At least we were inside. But as we looked at each other, faces streaked with grime and terror, a new, colder fear began to settle in. We had made it to the church. We were shielded from the pole. But what was waiting for us out there? What happens when the world is done being torn apart? We weren't just hiding from a storm. We were survivors trapped in a stone bubble, waiting for the end of everything we'd ever known. The silence in that church was louder and more terrifying than any of the chaos we had just escaped. The real nightmare, I think, was only just beginning. The flickering candlelight cast long, dancing shadows across the stone walls, each one a phantom twisting in the hallowed space. We huddled together, a sea of frightened faces illuminated by the wavering glow of 100 tiny flames. Outside, the world is ending, or at least it feels that way. The wind, no, it's more than wind now. It's a living, breathing monster, a howling beast that claws at the ancient stones of the church, screaming to be let in. Each gust is a physical blow, shaking the very foundations beneath our feet. I can feel the vibrations travel up my spine, a cold dread that has nothing to do with the night's chill. My hands are clasped so tightly they ache, knuckles white. I try to pray, to form the familiar words that have brought comfort since childhood, but they catch in my throat, lost in a desert of fear. I look around at the others. An old woman clutches her rosary, her lips moving in a silent, desperate rhythm. A young couple holds each other, the man's arm a protective shield around the woman's shaking shoulders. A little boy has buried his face in his mother's coat, his small body trembling. We are all strangers, yet in this moment, we are bound by a singular primal terror. The air is thick with it, a suffocating blanket woven from our collective panic, and the scent of melting wax and damp stone. Suddenly, Father Michael's voice cuts through the rising chorus of whimpers and prayers. It's a voice I have always known as calm and measured, a gentle guide through sermons and confessions. But now it's strained, sharp with an urgency that electrifies the air. Everyone, down to the crypt, now. He stands near the altar, his silhouette stark against the stained glass window, which moans under the assault from outside. His command breaks the spell of our paralysis. A wave of motion ripples through the pews. People scramble to their feet, stumbling over kneelers, their eyes wide and searching. Move. Quickly, he urges, his voice cracking. A fine layer of dust and grit begins to rain down from the vaulted ceiling. It coats my hair, my shoulders, a ghostly powder settling on the dark wood of the pews. I look up and see hairline fractures appearing in the plaster above, tiny veins spreading like a spider's web. The great wooden beams overhead groan, a deep, guttural sound like an old man in pain. The creaking is constant, a symphony of a structure being torn apart. The sound of the wind has changed again. It's no longer just a howl. It's a high-pitched shriek, the sound of metal tearing, of trees being ripped from the earth. The faint, almost musical ringing of the church bells, once a call to worship, is now a frantic, discordant clang, as if the belfry itself is being thrashed back and forth. We surge toward the side door Father Michael is pointing to, a shuffling, panicked herd. The doorway leads to a narrow, winding staircase, the stones worn smooth by centuries of footsteps. The air grows colder as we descend, the smell of damp earth and something else. Something ancient and undisturbed, filling my lungs. The sounds from above begin to muffle, the monster's scream becoming a distant, angry rumble. We crowd into the small, cavernous space below the church. The crypt. It's lined with stone shelves holding the long-forgotten dead. It should be terrifying in here, but the chaos above makes the silent, still place feel like a sanctuary. Once the last person is down, Father Michael pulls the heavy oak door shut. A thick wooden bar slams into place, and the world goes quiet. Not silent, but the roar is gone, replaced by a low, deep thrumming that we can feel in the solace of our feet. The only light comes from the few candles people manage to carry down, their flames now steady in the still air. We are packed shoulder to shoulder, the warmth of our bodies a small comfort against the subterranean chill. Father Michael moves through the small crowd, his face pale but his eyes resolute. He places a hand on the shoulder of the crying boy. He nods at the old woman. When he reaches me, he leans in close, his voice barely a whisper, a soft reassurance against the thrumming darkness. God is with us, he says, his gaze meeting mine. You're safe here. I want to believe him. I need to believe him. But as a tremor runs through the stone floor beneath us, I can't help but wonder if we've only traded one tomb for another. And I wonder what kind of world we'll find if we ever open that door again. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more. The dust was thick, choking. Every breath felt like swallowing sandpaper. We'd been digging for what felt like days, but it was probably only hours. Time gets weird when the world ends. Then we heard it. A faint whimper beneath a mountain of twisted rebar and shattered concrete. Me and Alex, we shared a look. No words needed. We started clawing at the rubble with our bare hands, ignoring the scrapes and pain. Hope is a powerful drug. Finally, we saw a hand, small, covered in grime, but moving. We worked faster, adrenaline surging through us. Pulling away a huge slab of wall, we found her. A woman, maybe in her late 20s, pinned but alive. Her eyes were wide with a mix of terror and relief. As we carefully pulled her free, her gaze wasn't on us. It was fixed on something behind us, something glowing in the gloom of the collapsed office building. I followed her stare. It was a laptop, miraculously intact, its screen casting an eerie blue light on the surrounding destruction. A man was hunched over it, his face illuminated. He didn't even seem to notice the rescue we just performed. He just kept muttering to himself, his fingers flying across the keyboard. We helped the woman to her feet, her whole body trembling. She winced, clutching her side, but her focus remained on the man and his laptop. What is it? I asked, my voice hoarse. What's he doing? The man finally looked up, his eyes wild and unfocused. I got it, he whispered, almost reverently. I got the data. Alex and I exchanged a confused glance. Data? What data could possibly matter now? The city was gone. Maybe the whole country. The magnetic energy? The man continued, his voice rising with a frantic edge. It's shifting. It's not natural. It's being pulled. He pointed a trembling finger at the complex graphs on his screen. Lines were spiking erratically, colors flashing red. Look, the poles are fluctuating, but not randomly. It's a pattern. Something is causing this. This wasn't just an earthquake. A cold dread washed over me, heavier than any concrete slab. We had all assumed it was a natural disaster, the big one they'd been warning us about for decades. But the way he said it, the certainty in his voice, it sent a shiver down my spine. The woman we just saved let out a small gasp. I saw it, she said, her voice barely a whisper. Just before everything fell, the sky, it folded. Folded? What did that even mean? Alex stepped closer to the laptop, squinting at the screen. He's right, he said, his voice low. These readings, they're impossible. This isn't just happening here. The satellite relays that are still active show the disturbance is global. The beeping of the computer suddenly sounded like a countdown timer. We were just four strangers in a ruin, but we might be the only ones who knew the truth. The world didn't just break. Something or someone broke it, and whatever it was still out there. We had survived the collapse, but I had a terrible feeling that was just the beginning. The real disaster was only just starting to unfold. What do we do now? Where do we even go? Let me know what you think we should do in the comments below. And if you want to see what happens next in our story, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Thanks for watching. Michael, can you hear me? It's Sarah. I'm in the lab, ... Something's wrong. Michael, the energy ... It's gone. It's just vanished from here. The core is dark, All readings are flatlined. It's like the entire power source for the city for everything just evaporated. The containment field failed, but there was no explosion, no radiation spike, nothing. Just silence. The alarms aren't even working. The emergency lights are flickering on reserve power, but that's it. It doesn't make any sense. A total energy collapse is theoretically impossible. Where did it all go? I'm looking at the central chamber right now, and it's empty. The singularity we spent decades creating and stabilizing, it's not there. It's a void. I've been trying to raise anyone, for the last hour. All comms are dead except for this channel, and even this is breaking up. I can't get a signal out of the bunker. Michael, what's happening out there? Can you see the sky? Is the city still there? I'm completely blind down here. The seismic sensors are offline. Atmospheric monitors are dead. It's like we've been cut off from the universe. I keep rerunning the sequence logs in my head. Everything was stable. The resonance frequency was holding steady. The particle injectors were nominal. We did everything by the book. This shouldn't have happened. It defies every law of physics we know. I feel cold. It's not just the temperature in the lab, it's a feeling. A deep, bone-chilling emptiness that wasn't here before. The air itself feels thin, hollow. I walked through the main corridor a few minutes ago, and the silence was so loud it was deafening. I thought I heard a whisper, but it was just the ventilation system dying. My team, I can't find them. We were all at our stations when the primary conduit flickered. Then the main lights went out. When the emergency backups kicked on, I was alone. It's a huge facility, but it's never felt this empty. It's like everyone just disappeared with the energy. Michael, I'm scared. I face reactor meltdowns, containment breaches, things that could tear a hole in reality. But this is different. This is a quiet, creeping dread. It feels like the universe just blinked and we were on the wrong side of it. I'm going to try to manually open the blast doors. It'll take a while, and I don't even know what I'll find on the other side. Maybe nothing. Maybe a world that doesn't remember us. I keep thinking about our last conversation, about our plans for the future, for us. I'm holding on to that. I need to know you're okay. I need to know there's something to come back to. This signal is fading fast. Michael, if you can hear this, I love you. Welcome to the world of Helios. For generations, humanity has looked to the stars, dreaming of what lies beyond. We've reached for the moon, sent rovers to Mars, and peered into the deepest corners of the cosmos. But our greatest challenge, the one that defines our very existence, has always been right here at home. The relentless demand for energy, a demand that has pushed our planet to its limits. We've burned through finite resources, altered our climate, and faced the difficult truth that our old ways are no longer sustainable. The future required a new kind of fire, a cleaner, safer, and truly limitless source of power. This is where the Helios project begins. It's not just another power plant, not just another solar panel. Helios is a radical reimagining of our relationship with the sun. We asked ourselves a simple yet audacious question: what if we could bring the power of a star closer to home? What if we could build a system so efficient, so powerful, that it could satisfy the energy needs of our entire civilization forever? We envisioned a world where energy is no longer a commodity to be fought over, but a universal right as abundant as the sunlight that bathes our planet. A world free from pollution, where our technological progress no longer comes at the cost of our environment. To achieve this, we developed a network of advanced solar reactors positioned in a stable geosynchronous orbit. These aren't the solar collectors of the past. Each reactor is a marvel of quantum engineering, designed to capture and convert solar radiation with nearly 100% efficiency. They harness the full spectrum of the sun's energy, from visible light to high-energy particles, turning it into pure, stable power. This raw energy is then channeled into a series of interconnected magnetic rings that encircle our planet. Think of them as a global superhighway for clean energy. These rings, glowing softly in the night sky, are the backbone of the Helios system. Using principles of quantum entanglement and resonant frequency transmission, the magnetic rings deliver power wirelessly and instantaneously to any point on Earth. No more sprawling power grids, no more transmission loss, no more blackouts. From the most remote village to the busiest megacity, everyone has access to an endless supply of clean energy. The system is self-regulating, intelligent, and completely safe, shielded by advanced magnetic fields that protect both the planet and the infrastructure itself. It's a closed-loop system, creating no waste, no emissions-only progress. The energy flowing through these rings will power our homes, our industries, our explorations into space. Helios represents more than just a technological leap. It's a new dawn for humanity. It's the key to unlocking our full potential. With limitless energy, we can desalinate oceans to end water scarcity, reclaim deserts for agriculture, and build cities that are truly in harmony with nature. It's the foundation for an era of unprecedented creativity, collaboration, and discovery. We are no longer just inhabitants of this planet. We are its caretakers, powered by the very star that gave us life. This is the promise of Helios. A future that isn't just bright, but brilliant. Thank you for watching. Be sure to subscribe for more updates on the future we are building together.